Hello, I'm Dilek Tuna. Welcome to Africa News. Here are the top stories for the hour. Denis Sassou Nguesso begins a fifth term in office in the Republic of Congo following a decisive election result. Nigeria's inflation rises for the first time in a year as higher fuel costs linked to the Middle East tensions drive up food prices and squeeze traders. And Sudan's health system is pushed to the brink as years of conflict leave millions struggling to access basic care. Republic of Congo President Denis Sassou Nguesso has been sworn in for a fifth term, extending his nearly 42-year rule after securing over 94% of the vote in the March election. In his inaugural address, he stressed continuity, calling on institutions to uphold peace and national stability. The ceremony was attended by several African leaders, including representatives from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Ghana. Rising fuel prices in Nigeria are pushing up food costs, adding pressure to households and the government ahead of upcoming elections next year.
Nigeria's inflation rate rose in March for the first time in a year, driven largely by higher fuel costs linked to the Middle East conflict. Food inflation climbed to 14.31% year-on-year, while overall inflation reached 15.38%, according to official data. At markets in Lagos, traders and drivers say rising transport costs are making food more expensive and harder to sell.
Transport before was between 3,500 naira to 4,500 to deliver a basket of tomatoes. But now, because of fuel, it is between 8,000 to 10,000 for transport from Kano to Lagos, one basket.
Sellers say the pressure is worsened by the perishable nature of goods, forcing them to sell quickly, often at a loss.
Once we bring our produce and drop it here, it is now compulsory to sell it off at any cost because it is a perishable good and will spoil. We can't even hold on it for 3 days.
Drivers also point to worsening conditions, with rising fuel prices and poor roads adding to costs across the supply chain. The price surge follows months of easing inflation, highlighting the impact of global tensions on Nigeria's economy.
Sudan's health system is nearing collapse after almost 3 years of war, with hospitals damaged, medicine in short supply, and millions in need of urgent care.
Sudan's health system is close to collapse after nearly 3 years of conflict between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces. Fighting that began on April 15, 2023, has caused an estimated $11 billion in damage to the health sector. Only a few drug factories are still operating, and many life-saving medicines are now in short supply.
It can be very challenging to bring it into the country, and then getting it to the far parts of Khartoum or Blue Nile or the Kordofans, or getting the medical supplies into Darfur is always a big challenge, and the medical system in Sudan is very compromised at the moment.
Aid workers say delivering medical supplies remains extremely difficult, especially to areas like Khartoum, Darfur, and Blue Nile. The World Health Organization reports that about 34 million people need humanitarian aid, including 21 million who require urgent health services.
The medical system has suffered from this war, just like all other aspects of life. There is a huge loss of professional medical talent who have emigrated from Sudan, in particular the medical staff in the field of cancer treatment, as we consider them as scarce experts.
Nowadays in Khartoum, there is no medication and even no basic examinations. The hospital that once provided us with treatment was destroyed in the conflict, and now we are left without medical services.
The war has also driven many skilled doctors out of the country, worsening the crisis. Patients say they are left without care as Sudan's medical system struggles to survive.
South Africa is taking steps to reduce emissions with the rollout of a decarbonisation program. Officials say the project will help manufacturing firms measure their carbon footprint while still remaining competitive in global markets.
South Africa has introduced a decarbonisation program designed to help manufacturing companies reduce emissions while remaining competitive as the global shift towards net zero accelerates. The country's steel sector is one of the most carbon intensive in the world, largely because of its dependence on coal-fired power. At the same time, many firms lack the data, tools and expertise required to navigate the transition to cleaner energy. Officials say the initiative will support companies in measuring and understanding their carbon footprint.
What the project then looks to do is to help manufacturers, especially in the small to medium range, understand their carbon footprint. So that's around scope 1 emissions, which is direct emissions, scope 2 emissions, which is your indirect electricity that you would get from the grid, from your electricity, and then scope 3 emissions is your suppliers as well. Once you can measure it, and then you can begin essentially to act on it.
The push comes as the European Union tightens rules on carbon-intensive imports through its carbon border adjustment mechanism, which is intended to assign a cost to emissions generated in the production of goods entering the EU. Although cooperation between the EU and South Africa is growing in areas such as critical minerals and green energy, the country is facing increased pressure from its second largest market for iron and steel.
CBAM presents now what is a risk for companies that if they don't decarbonize, in essence, they would potentially lose that EU market. Such interventions are critical then to mitigate the CBAM risk. But that risk is coming, and it's something that we can't wish away.
While Africa accounts for just 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions, South Africa is among the world's largest contributors.
A man in South Africa is changing how people experience art and travel. Despite losing his sight as a teenager, he's now guiding others through a city's vibrant streets.
Winston Fanny lost his sight at the age of 13 after living with glaucoma since birth. But instead of stepping back, he has stepped forward, becoming Africa's first qualified blind tour guide. Today, he leads visitors through the streets of Cape Town, using a white cane and a powerful memory to guide them through colourful murals in the Salt River area.
Eyes do not see. It's the brain that does the interpretation. So I had to research about each and every mural, and I had someone who explained to me, who repainted each and every mural in my brains. So that's what I do for my blind pecs. I make sure that I repaint each and every mural in their brains.
After losing his job during the COVID pandemic, Fanny says he had to find a new way to provide for his family. With help from a friend, he turned an everyday skill, giving directions, into a new career. He has also made his tours more accessible for others with visual impairments, using QR codes, audio recordings, and braille descriptions at each stop.
I just want people to come and see the beauty of Mother Nature through a blind man's eyes.
With support from local tourism groups and crowdfunding, he qualified as a guide and left his call centre job behind. Now he is helping others see the world differently.
A Kenyan court has handed a Chinese national a jail sentence after he was caught trying to smuggle thousands of live ants out of the country. Here's more on that story.
A Kenyan court has fined a Chinese national 1 million shillings, about $8,000, and handed him a jail sentence for attempting to smuggle thousands of live ants out of the country. Authorities say the man was arrested at Nairobi's main international airport with more than 2,200 garden ants hidden in his luggage, in a case highlighting growing concerns over wildlife trafficking. The court said tougher penalties are needed to deter a rise in such incidents, as demand grows in overseas markets where collectors keep ant colonies for study. His lawyer said the sentence includes both a fine and a custodial term.
It has been fined 1 million in default to serve 12 months imprisonment, and due to in the court's view that his level of involvement in the alleged offence is so huge, he has, in addition to the 12 months, he has been given another 12 months to serve. That will serve a consecutive.
The defendant had initially denied the charges before later pleading guilty. His legal team says an appeal will be filed. Wildlife experts say the case reflects a broader shift in illegal trafficking, moving away from high-profile items like ivory towards lesser-known species.
That's all we have today on Africa News. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News for all the latest updates.